Good morning, fellow Saint Lucians. Sadly, I'm here today because we've heard over the last couple of days of two heinous crimes that have taken place. One of a female who was raped in Jacmel, and the body of another female that was discovered at Pigeon Island. First, let me say my condolences to all family members. I know how difficult this must be and how shocking it is, and all of our heartfelt, warm and prayers go out to you today, and to be assured of all of our continued support. I also want to say that how grieved I am, how upset I am that we still have these types of crimes taking place in our society. In opposition, my government clearly identified this as a priority area. And I have repeatedly said to the public of Saint Lucia that there is no one solution to this problem. This takes a holistic approach to solve. We first have the police force, which needed to be strengthened, and we've been doing so. Better communication systems, CCTV cameras, new vehicles, better training, and recently promotions for those officers, and physically improving their offices as well as their own personal facilities. We're also going to be commencing the construction of the new police headquarters very soon. We've also strengthened our forensic lab because without evidence makes convictions impossible. So the forensic lab not only has new equipment and is fully operational, but will also be doing all of the forensic investigation on the crime scenes. We've now added a DNA testing lab to help strengthen the forensic lab. The DPP's office, when we came in, there was no DPP, and there was 3 or 4 people in that office. Now we have over 9 people and several lawyers, and we can see the improved efficiency in prosecution. The court system in this new police headquarters will include 6 new courts, 3 magistrate, 3 criminal. But even recently, because of COVID, our criminal court has not been able to be used because of the need for protocols, the application of protocols, particularly as it pertains to our jury. These are some of the constraints that we've been living in. And this government has been addressing every single one of them. Furthermore, we must recognize that, particularly for domestic abuse and child abuse, the signs are there from early. And clearly we have failed as a society in being able to put the mechanisms in for persons to be able to report this, and also for the sensitivity of information and how we deal with the victims themselves. And so we have been strengthening our social systems to be able to address that. And we have to do a better job of sharing information between nurses, teachers, sports officers, and social workers, as well as better educating the public on identifying abuse cases and how to be able to report it. Sadly, we have been waiting for incidences like what have happened recently to take place before we become outraged. We must be outraged at the loss of any life through domestic abuse. We have been hired additional social workers. We are decentralizing government to make sure that the level of communication between education, healthcare, and social workers is happening on a more regular basis, and that they can share information and make sure that if in fact these things are happening, that the government workers can help address the situation long before it results in somebody being seriously harmed or even killed. The Ministry of Security and Justice are here with me today, as well as the Minister of Gender Relations. And they will speak also to what is taking place in their relevant ministries and the level of coordination that's taking place to resolve these issues. So again, I want to say that I am horrified. It's unacceptable. And despite the efforts that we have made and the levels of improvement that we have seen in serious crime in general, the murder rate and particularly domestic abuse and women being abused is intolerable. And when things like this happen, it only increases our resolve and the sense of urgency to resolve this problem. But I want to remind us that government can do its part, but all of us need to share in this responsibility. The churches, schools, parent groups, family members, we all have a role to play if we are going to make sure that nobody has to suffer to this extent. And again, my sincerest condolences to the family members of both victims, and be assured of my government's continued sense of urgency, and that we will continue to make the resources available to resolve this problem in the future. Before I conclude, I want to address a critical issue. Since the advent and the increased use of social media and the lack of proper censorship when it was media houses and somebody to be able to hold accountable, and many people themselves now are privy to information and are choosing to circulate some of the most gruesome, disrespectful pictures on social media. And we all play our part, because when we get these pictures and we share them, rather than immediately erasing them. This is hurtful to the family members every time that they have to see it. This certainly will affect the investigation, because it may make available evidence that we don't want shared. I'm appealing to all of us to think of what I did when I heard of these instances. I have a daughter. I could have been her. So to suggest that we don't care, we do. I personalize all of these things. But more importantly, after suffering the loss of your child, to then see the indignity of people circulating these pictures, we're better than that, Saint Lucia. We're better than that.